What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched season 1 of Lazarus. We are a little late to the party on this. We were doing episodic reviews, but then real life came in, been working way too much, so we figured we would just watch the rest of the season, give you guys a full-on review of the whole season. So typically we start with recaps. We'll do that here, but because we're going to talk about the whole season, basically, you guys watched it, you guys know. Dr. Skinner made a painkiller that everybody around the world has taken. It is revealed that everybody who has taken that will eventually die unless you find Skinner, in which he will give the world the cure. And a group called Lazarus gets put together. There's a lot of stuff behind all of this, but basically they're put together to locate Skinner. Every episode is basically them going on leads, getting them an inch closer to finding Skinner, and hopefully you watch the season. They do. They find Skinner, and they're able to get the cure, and it seems like everyone is fine for the most part. Outside of the world is just getting to be a worse place. We are left off seeing that, but it's got a happy ending for the most part. So we watched all the episodes, all 13, and let's jump into impression. Chevy, what'd you think of season 1 of Lazarus?
Okay. Well, I mean, we obviously covered, like you said, we were doing like an episode by episode thing. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on the beginning of the show, other than the show definitely has some pacing issues for sure, especially in the first half.
First to middle, like it didn't seem like things started rolling to like the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, which brings me to my thought is that towards the end of the show, the story finally started to roll, and while also giving us the last of the backstories we were missing. So if they would have had that kind of pacing throughout the whole show, it probably wouldn't have felt as slow, because we spent whole episodes doing backstory with nothing effectively happening by the end of the episode. They'd go, they'd get a lead and it would result in nothing. They'd be starting from scratch again, but we would get backstory. So there was some payoff, but just wasn't done as well as they did in the later half, where I felt like we were progressing the story and learning about characters, which is ideally what we want to be doing, at least in my opinion, obviously. For the most part, though, the story I do think was interesting. I enjoyed it. Fortunately, I'm pretty patient, so I'm able to sit through things pretty easily. And I do think the ending was, for the most part, worth it. It was a little, hooray, we saved the day. But, I kind of expected that result anyways from it.
I just remember starting episode 13 and looking after getting past the recap in the intro. We got 22 minutes left. I was like, they have to resolve everything and end the show in a satisfying way in 22 minutes. And they definitely ended it. We got resolution, so nothing was like left going like, well, what the hell happened here? But it didn't feel like enough time to really set into what transpired throughout the show.
I think they were bad about that through the whole show, though, because there was a lot of times where they would talk about something real briefly, and in the assumption that they know what they're talking about, but not necessarily that we know what they're talking about. And then they'd just be done with it, and it's just like, okay, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
So I think that just kind of falls more as well into like the pacing problems with the show.
Yeah,
so.
it constantly felt like to me that the show was a cool idea that didn't get thought through very well. And so like the premise was interesting, but like it felt like they didn't really care a whole lot about this show outside of the time they spent on like fight scenes. I felt like they kind of threw this together and just put it out. But it feels like it started from like someone had like a cool premise of like, what would happen if this happened? And then they just kind of felt it out from there. Because a lot of the stuff did just kind of like resolve and just move on really quickly and end really quickly. And the way the season ended was like, I was telling you right before we're about to start filming, but like season 1, can I call it season 1 or is it over? Like, are we getting a season 2? And obviously they don't need to make a season 2. I'm not asking for a season 2, but the show ends in a way that is like, we won through the power of friendship. Everybody's high-fiving it, going like, oh, we're going to stick around and be part of Lazarus and solve other Scooby-Doo mysteries. And it's like, okay, so...
Yeah. I mean, you could also interpret that as, them all finding a place to belong as well, because they were all
Well, I do interpret it that way, but I also, ending it like 5 seconds after that resolution leaves it open for whether this director or somebody else wants to take this on and make a season 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt like, because we spent so little time with the resolution, are we just going into are they gonna try and make season 2? Do they have plans for that? And maybe they don't do it. I don't know. It just feels like I don't know, kind of rushed. So anyway,
Yeah. Let's see. Characters in the show, though, designed, well, were okay, from okay to boring. I didn't love anybody in the show.
I didn't like anybody in the show.
Yeah, that's somewhere okay, but like, because of the way we're kind of giving them through the whole show, I don't feel like we really develop any time with them to form relationships. So
I don't think they had enough time together to form relationships between each other too.
right, but I do think their designs are well done. I think the show in general is designed very well. I like the style of the show. The art's very good. The animation was from good to great. In this whole show, there wasn't really a bad episode animation wise, in my opinion. So Mappa did a very good job animating this. I'm pretty positive anime original.
There are some fantastic fight sequences and even chase sequences. Mappa definitely, I have no complaints with them.
Yeah.
Any complaints I really have is story based.
I have another complaint, but
visually the show was great.
Yeah.
Especially in the last couple episodes, there's some fight scenes that were like pretty impressive. Very cool, very technical, which we saw throughout the show, but technical, like hand-to-hand combat stuff that was happening. Specifically,
cool.
it was like episode 10 or 11 when that assassin first showed up and took out the military guys. That whole sequence was like really fucking cool.
Yeah.
There's some really complicated things happening in the sequence that I was just like, this is like straight out of a fucking action movie. Like, this is pretty wild.
Yeah, well, and the show did that a lot in small doses with the whole show too. So like it was constantly really good about that, and really kind of experimental with like angles and stuff like that too, which was fun.
Yeah, I loved it visually.
Yeah, and then the music was also very good, but I kind of expect that with this director. He's definitely a music guy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of his typical flair with like more like modern, and even though this is a sci-fi show, but like a very contemporary music. But then also there was a lot of really cool ambient electronic building music that added tension to scenes. That I think would have been way more worthwhile if I cared about the characters more. But the scene itself, the tempo of it, the pacing of it was like really fucking cool with the music building to it. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I liked most aspects of the show, and even though I've complained about the pacing, I did think the story was enjoyable. So the part that probably made the show gets the lowest marks, and I am aware you can find and watch the show in Japanese at this point, but we were officially distributed the English copy without a Japanese one, and so we watched it that way. And whoever directed the English dub of this, I don't think they know how people speak.
It took me back, and we've talked about this in prior reviews, and I've talked about it a lot off camera, but it took me back to like early 2000s anime dubs. Everybody just kind of talks like this. Everybody has an opinion and everybody has something to say, but they all just kind of say it the same monotone, capped decibel voice.
Yeah.
And it's just like everybody talks like that. And so like it's just like in the long sequences of dialogue, it is a fucking chore to listen to these people talk for so long. And we did watch an episode in Japanese on a different place just to see what it's like. It was fucking way better. We should have watched the whole thing in Japanese. So This is a review of this season in English.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better in Japanese. If you guys watch it that way and you're like, what are you talking about? This is where we're coming from.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, we watched it as it was presented to us on HBO. So
Yep. Yeah, we watched it via Max.
yeah. Yeah, and it was really a bummer because it was hard not to pay attention to it because I wanted to just kind of ignore it because typically I can, but every character has my vocal tone, which in real life not everyone talks like this. So
Yeah, people typically talk with like inflection and like
yeah,
fluctuation and it's so it just sounded like people who have like done voice acting before, so they know how to like play a character archetype, but they're just reading the script. Mm-hmm. And the director was like, yeah, it's fine.
it definitely felt like yeah, this is fine for sure. So
Yeah.
And that was a bummer, and it kind of really like slowed the show down for me, which is unfortunate because there was a lot of moments in there where I was like enjoying it and starting to get into it, and then they'd start having a bunch of dialogue, and it wasn't that the dialogue was boring, it's that I was having a hard time listening to them present the dialogue. And I'm not even necessarily blaming the VAs. I don't necessarily think it was them. Maybe it was some of them, but it is more so the product that they allowed to be released. So that's on the directors and producers and stuff at that point.
Yeah, and I also have a hard time believing that every voice actor they hired were all bad.
It's the same.
Yeah, I don't believe that. So I do think whoever was in charge of like giving them the inspiration they needed to play these roles wasn't very confident in doing that.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I did think it was a decent show. Fortunately, it was a slow season, so you know it didn't really have a lot of competition for me to compare it to. So it kind of gets a pass in that regard. I would say if you have absolutely, I guess I shouldn't do recommendations yet. So why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I overall didn't really like this show, which sucks because I think I think a lot of the stuff in the show is actually good. I like the world. I think this director is always really good about giving us like these like adventures in different locations with a lot of like cultural themes and music and stuff like that. We got that here. So I liked that part. I wish we could have expanded on the world a bit more and understood this world. But basically we got a lot of like, this is like in the future where global warming has already happened or, is further progressed. And so like things are fucked from that.
So.
And there's like, tensions with war and all that stuff, but that's all stuff I just expect in the future anyway. I want to know more about like the technologies that are going on here, and we don't got to spend much time on that, but like, we did have that like hypercube system that was interesting, and I kind of like that it's just kind of in the background. You got to kind of figure that out, but I would have liked more of that. But yeah,
another thing they presumed, basically the show did it a lot. So
I really liked the action sequences, including chase sequences. They didn't even have to just be like fighting, but like there's a lot of scenes with Axel, like either chasing after someone or being chased. Those are really cool. I also loved seeing parkour being represented in an anime. You don't really see parkour in shows very often when it comes to anime, because most people are just like either walking around, running, or fighting. So it's cool that there was this
living tanks and don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, so it's cool, or flying. So it's cool to see it, shown in a way that was used regularly in a lot of scenes. Axel's mobility, which I really enjoyed.
Even though he's a dork.
Yeah, he's a dork, but maybe that's just in English. I don't know.
Yeah.
The premise of the story, I think, is cool. It had a cool hook. For the first like 7 episodes, I was kind of struggling though. I was like, man, I hope this like starts going again somewhere. This could be cool. It had a really good like first episode where I was like, ooh, that's an interesting premise, but it keeps like meandering. Oh my god. With like, oh, we're one step closer. No, we're not. Oh, we're one step closer. No, that was the wrong direction. Oh, we got a little bit of a lead here. I don't know. That didn't really go anywhere. So that got kind of old. So pacing's an issue with the show. Again, I like the premise of it, and I think the resolution, like the last like 3 episodes were good. I had no complaints.
Yeah, pacing was good and everything. It was just really strange.
Yeah, I feel like this should have been like a 5 episode show or something,
maybe.
Or 6 episodes. I think it would have been way better done if we just, because that's the story we got was within, or a movie would have been fine. Yeah, there's just a lot of episodes that I enjoyed some of the action sequences and locations, but do we need it? Not really. It didn't really add much to it. So. Especially in a show that I struggled with liking any of the characters. That could be the writing, that could be the voice acting, could be both, but none of them had strong personalities. They're all very strong in their archetypes of what type of character they're supposed to be, but they didn't really go beyond that, and none of them had like, outside of the type of character they're supposed to be, they didn't have like strong personalities in any way. There's nothing to them that I'm like, oh, he's kind of funny, oh, he's kind of like serious. They're all kind of like that, except for every once in a while they do something cliche, like Axel's always like, all right, time to be a badass. And then the blonde chick, I forgot her name, she would say something sassy every once in a while, but then most of the time she's just talking like monotone like the rest of them about like whatever they're talking about, like, oh, no way. So yeah, none of their personalities really shined, I guess. So that was, kind of rough. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say on it. I do appreciate that the story did resolve. I wish we had a little bit more time to digest it, but
it definitely gives points for resolving.
It didn't end in a way that I was like, well, what the hell was up with that? Like, I mean, a little bit with like the assassin dude, but we did get the information on that. But it was kind of presented as like there's this big grander scheme. But yeah, all the sequences with the assassin dude were fucking cool though. That was definitely good. I could tell we're wrapping up the show when you introduce a character like that. Especially the fight between him and Axel, where they trade weapons and. He hits him in the leg, and he gets a spear through his fucking stomach. I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although that guy was willy-nilly with those grenades. I was really liked, even though it hurt like hell to do this. I liked that, and I thought for a split second, I'm like, is he going to kick the grenade back at him? And he did. And I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to believe somebody would do that. It's anime, whatever. But like,
sure.
Grenades are pretty fucking heavy, so that would be a hard kick. But what's he going to do? Sit there and die? So
true.
Rather take some foot pain than explode. But yeah, overall, I wasn't the biggest fan of this, which kind of sucks because I love this director. I love a lot of the stuff he's done in the past. So I was really excited for this, and there is a lot of his flavor throughout this, so I appreciated that. But overall, it was a cool premise on paper. I don't think it was put to 13 episodes as efficiently as it could have been. But I don't regret watching it. I got to the point, which sucks. I got to the point where I was like not excited to watch every episode. But then when we just shotgun through all these episodes, the last like 4 episodes, I wasn't thinking about the time anymore. I was like actually getting into it because we're finally working towards something and getting like a lot of really cool stuff happening.
Moving.
Yeah, around the time that we got the oil rig tanker on, it was
definitely
interesting. That whole episode was like really well animated, a lot of stuff going on, very very entertaining. So, yeah, kind of a shame, but don't regret it. Recommendations.
Yeah, so I mean, as I was getting ready to say earlier, I think, if you just have absolutely nothing to watch, and you like a show with like good animation and really good choreography, I mean, I think the show in that regard alone was worth watching. If
you like a show you can put on when you're trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good one right before bed.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say, too, is we did get a little sample of this in Japanese, and I would probably give a hard recommendation to watch it that way. With the caveat, I know there are people out there who just watch dub. You're probably more accustomed to the style of voice acting that's happening here.
Yeah.
And so don't let this be a deterrent to watching it in English if that's the case. Like, go ahead and watch it. If you're used to it, you're used to it. I just not a big fan of the lack of energy in people because everyone just sounded like a robot.
Even in the episode where they're on the oil rig and the explosion happened and the blonde chick yelled, it sounded so flat.
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Who else would I recommend this to? If you're a fan of this director, it's probably not his best, but
You should
it's
still
definitely
check it
got
out.
his flair to it. So you should
Yeah.
check it out. Yeah, what else would I suggest? If you're a fan of, I already kind of said animation, but let me specify. If you're into like the kind of animation and stuff that Mappa does, because it definitely has their touch all over it. They're very good at hand to hand. There's a lot of good choreography in this show for sure. And then you have to be okay with slow pacing. It is a slower show. If you need action all the time, it technically tries to give it to you all the time, but it is not the same as like a shonen. So might not be for you, but if you can handle a slow pace show, it does go from beginning to end. There's a coherent story. You'll get a whole story knocked out. You won't be waiting for more. So
Yeah, I was gonna say as a recommendation, if you're somebody like me who doesn't really like long running shows, you want like a quick, not necessarily quick, but just the story and get it knocked out. I'd recommend this to you because you can do it in one season, obviously, and you can get the whole story unless they end up making a second season somehow. This is gonna be a weird one, but I like parkour. If you like parkour and you want to see that in an anime,
pretty underrepresented there.
Yeah, you might dig this because I thought it was pretty neat. And then just as a genre, if you're into sci-fi, but mostly like not so distant sci-fi, which is always kind of an interesting.
It's basically on the cusp of cyberpunk. So
Yeah, but it's not quite because there's a lot of technology. It's still like
relevant,
contemporary.
Yeah.
So it's like you have like very modern stuff meeting like some future ideas. I mean, they're still using drones and shit. So it's like it's not that far ahead, but it's got some like future ideas like the hypercube.
I mean, I think they did a pretty good job of realizing a world 30 years from now. So
yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah, it doesn't feel too like sci-fi, but it definitely is ahead. Although it's in a world that's getting destroyed, so it's kind of an interesting mix. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, I think they realized it pretty well. Also, if you're into current events and you want to see an anime kind of do its version of what they could possibly
turn into,
think things are going to be like in the future, it's an interesting point of view.
Yeah.
So all right, let's grade it. I'm gonna give it,
I got this locked in, so
this is gonna seem low, but I'm going C plus. It's fine. I want to give it like a fucking C, but I have to give it the plus because the animation is like A tier.
it's really good.
But I really was like checking the time a lot when people are talking for too long. If they're having like long conversations, I don't have that problem like watching movies. I love dialogue. So it really was like just the way they did it really made a lot of episodes when things weren't happening feel like a chore, feel like a slog, and that sucks. I don't want to feel that way. Sure. So yeah, it's fine. C plus, just for it does have awesome action in it and great animation. So,
well, we are like-minded on this one. I'm also giving it a C plus for similar reasons. I do think the animation is honestly. The show didn't deserve it.
I know it's fucking weird. I feel like when I was watching some of the action sequences, I'm like, you guys are doing animation for a show that's way better than what the show is. Like, in terms of the effort they put into the voice work and shit.
It's an absolute pleasure to watch.
Yeah,
and the art is very nice. I love the way the show looks.
Yeah, character design, everything's cool looking.
And it does have a coherent story from start to end that I did not hate. I enjoyed enough, right? It is literally just a pacing issue and a voice performance issue. And
I don't think
it
I don't
really
feel
kind
like
of drags it down.
I don't feel like the characters are as realized as they should have been.
Right. And so like, I mean, I still can't, like, I can remember Axel's name. That's it.
I remembered.
And what's the guy's name? Skinner?
Skinner's the doctor.
Right. That's the name I remember. That's my whole point is I spent 13 episodes, with a lot of names and
Well, and I said the blonde kid's name at the beginning of this episode, and I'm doubting myself, but I think it's like Leland or something.
Leyland,
Something like that.
something like that. Yeah, it's close. But that's the whole point, though, right? Is like if I would have liked these people more, I would probably have put a little more effort into retaining their names, but they were just kind of there, and so I didn't care to retain them, I guess. So
I was able to watch through almost every anime we've reviewed so far, from like Demon Slayer to like Hell's Paradise, and slowly but surely remember all the names of the characters. This show has less characters than most animes we watch, and I cannot remember their fucking names.
yeah, which sucks. So.
Yeah, it's wild.
But yeah, I don't think it's a bad show. So I definitely can't go lower than C plus because I think it is a little bit above, passing.
Yeah, it's not a failure. I'm not going to give it a fucking D or an F, but
Yep, but it would not be. I would not rewatch it.
yeah, no,
That's for
I
sure.
wouldn't either.
So
I'd be curious to watch in Japanese because I have a suspicion that it's better, but by a lot. But yeah, I got what I needed from it. So
yeah, I'm also probably. I think I'm gonna be a little hesitant going forward with shows that Adult Swim is paying for because when we started
Yeah.
watching the show, I was watching someone else react to it. They had dropped it eventually, but they had. They were kind of making a point that they'd been burned by Adult Swim a couple times now with a couple other shows, and I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. So
sure.
I don't know if they pay for very solid projects at this point. So
Yeah, I wonder how this came about. I wonder if they approached that director because they're like, Cowboy Bebop. People love Cowboy Bebop. Can we pay you to make a show? And he's like, well,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
probably.
Cowboy Bebop was received better in the West than it was in the East. So
Sure, but it still has
well, that's what I'm saying,
a
that
legacy to it.
yeah, and so like that company was very much responsible for the distribution of that, and they probably just want to kind of try to find that magic again. I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. They probably wanted to pay this dude to go like and Mappa together and be like, we need you to like do something that's that magic. We need that magic again. And the guy's older and Mappa has like 1,000 projects, so they're probably like, sure, we'll take money.
Yeah, quit overworking them. I need more Ranma.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the next 5 animes we watch will all be by Mappa. So, on that note, let us know in the comments what did you think of Lazarus? Whether you liked it, didn't like it. Maybe you're somewhere in between. What are your criticisms? What are the things you liked about it? Did you watch in Japanese or English? What did you think of that? What did you think about the voice acting? And then what I was going to say on that note is we have a whole new season of anime coming out. We are going to start watching Dan to Dan. I am excited to watch that. If you didn't catch our episodic reviews of season 1, they're there. We will be doing the same with this season, and then Kaiju number 8 we plan on watching. We'll be doing episodic reviews of that as well. Sakamoto Days season 2 apparently is coming out as well. We will not be doing episodic reviews of that. I don't have the time for that, but we will be watching it, and so we'll do a season review of that, mostly because the first season I thought was okay. Watch those reviews if you're interested, but I did like Dan to Dan. I did like Kaiju number 8, so I feel like those should be the priority. And then if something else comes up, we'll look into it. There is a cat zombie show I'm kind of interested in.
There are.
I think Takeshi Miike has something to do with it.
Let me know in the comments what you're watching this season, but
Yeah.
I am overwhelmed. This season is insane for me because the 3 you mentioned, there's also a new show that's coming out that is getting some attention as well.
Okay.
And maybe that's what you're talking about. I can't exactly remember the name. I also have My Dress Up Darling season 2 is happening. Call of the Night season 2 is happening. Shield Hero is also happening. The continuation of that. Like I don't know where I'm gonna have time for all this crap. So, what are you guys watching? Like, let
Give us recommendations, whether it's anime, movies, whatever. Can't guarantee we'll watch it, but we'll consider it. And yeah, we might not be in the know, so just let us know. But yeah, there's some anime where it's like it's a zombie show, but people don't turn to zombies; they turn to cats.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I know the name. So.
And I saw somebody give it like a pretty decent review so far. So I'm like, probably be a funny show. But yeah, that's going to do it for this review of Lazarus. And yeah, give us recommendations. But until the next review, which we'll be doing Dan to Dan here soon. And then also we got to finish Shogun. We'll do a season review of that. Until then, I've been Seth, this has been Chevy. And we'll talk to you guys later.